call on the Malliotakis, if you could say a few words and tell us how it's looking in Washington.
Thank you to the governor for coming out here so swiftly following this storm. Any of us who have been through Hurricane Sandy just know how tragic and devastating the damage of a natural disaster can be to our community. I still remember the day after Hurricane Sandy struck our shores, Senator Savino, Borough President, and Councilman Jimmy Otto and I were touring the areas, and we knew that this was going to be something very, very dire, and something that we needed to be right on the street, delivering supplies, getting people the help they need, and that would be a long recovery process, and in some cases we're still recovering. My biggest fear is when I turn on the news and I hear that a storm is coming toward our way. A tropical storm, a hurricane, heavy rain. Because we know that on Staten Island there are certain areas that are constantly impacted by flooding, poor drainage, and other issues. So my biggest concern, and I brought this up with the governor when I spoke with her when she first took the position a week ago, is ensuring that we are better protected for the future. And for the east shore of Staten Island, we know that that means completing the seawall along the east shore, which has been something very personal to me and those who represent that area in particular. And that she's given me her commitment that she'll work with us and ensure that we move this project along, we resolve the issues that we're having between the city and the federal government in terms of remediation, to ensure that this project stays on schedule. It is absolutely critical, and it does require every single level of government's cooperation, because the city, the state, and the federal level all have invested taxpayer money in this project, and each level has a responsibility to work together to move forward. And so I appreciate that. Thank you to the governor for that commitment to me. In addition to that, we know that the reality is that government sometimes does other things than the basics that we're supposed to be focused on, right? What do people expect from their government when they pay their taxes? Well, in my opinion, public safety, transportation, quality education, and yes, infrastructure. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the type of investment and the type of projects that are necessary to keep up with population growth in our community and across this city. And there is so much aging infrastructure, despite the fact that we pay more to the city in tax dollars per population than any other city, I would argue, in the country, and certainly any other state in the country. And so it is time for all of us, the city, the state, and yes, the federal government. And I do hope that the speaker brings a bill forward so we can actually debate it and have a real conversation about what are the infrastructure needs of today. So we can work all together to try to once and for all focus where the taxpayers want their money to go, to support their infrastructure and get back to the basics of where government's responsibility needs to be. So I look forward to working with my colleagues on the city, the state, and the federal level to do that. And just lastly, with FEMA, I want to thank the governor again for swiftly requesting that declaration from the president. She did also request the individual and households program, which is the key for all of those homeowners who are looking for direct relief to help with some of those unmet needs that insurance is not covering. She put in that request, and we thank her for that. The president so far has not approved that, and he has indicated that he will. And we thank that FEMA and the state Office of Emergency Management are working together to expedite that process of evaluating the damage and doing the assessments. And I want to thank my colleagues on the local level, every single member. You should know this because it's so important at a time of such polarization in our country. Every single elected official in Staten Island, Republican and Democrat, all three levels of government, signed on to the letter that I drafted today that went right to the president, asking him to please help us swiftly execute these assessments and to grant the governor's request for that individual and household program. So I want to thank them for that, and I want to thank all of you for coming out and showing support for the elected officials who are out there doing the best we can at this moment in time. And let's just all work together to get this done, get the seawall done, and look for ways to improve our community and make sure that we're better protected in the future. Thank you.
Michael Kusick.